will help basically bridge the gap between them and the blockchain, and also be the payment processor for some of these smaller gaming companies. So, like as an example, I was just talking to Monty about this. So I've been developing apps in the gaming space for the past decade almost, and having launched gaming startups and also just being a user of them. And when I say gaming platforms, I mean more like, fantasy sports, online betting, prediction platforms, etc., than like, your more thought of like NFT blockchain game, like an Aave or something. And so, building these companies and launching these apps, like we experienced firsthand, like how many problems there are with startups and otherwise, basically scaling gaming companies, both from not only a legal standpoint, but literally there's just restricted access across the globe. So, just, getting PayPal integrated or any like third party tool or service is extremely difficult. And if you're in parts of the world like Turkey, you can't withdraw, you can't cash out. So with stuff that's like 100% native to the blockchain, I think you bring up a good question. And I don't necessarily think a blockchain game in the ecosystem would want to, if they have their own native token, right? Like they probably wouldn't want to use Smilecoin. I think those will be more partnerships where we have like levers we can pull, where we say, hey, sign up to use, enter this contest or make this prediction or do X, Y, and Z with Smilecoin or this other, with Yieldly or any other DApp, and get some type of incentive or reward. But the real value is us like onboarding these non-native blockchain companies like into the ecosystem. So like Grin Gaming is a good example. We're starting to onboard Esports One, a company called Block Sports. So all these folks are starting to basically integrate Smilecoin into their non-blockchain gaming applications. So, and then there's obviously sort of the game within the game in the ecosystem for people to earn rewards and play mini games and basically like stake Smile. I know it's kind of long-winded, but I hope that kind of answers your initial question.
It does. I guess my follow-up question is, what are these companies that you're onboarding going to use Smilecoin for?
So they will use that as, so I'll give you an example of the use case. So like currently on Grin Gaming, when a user enters a contest or wins something, they have the option to basically opt to take their earnings in US dollars or Smilecoin with a US dollar equivalency and like a 20% reward or whatever it is now. And after rolling this out, they've literally seen like 66% of people are opting to basically take Smilecoin instead of USD, basically for their winnings. So that's like one use case. Like another use case is we could essentially just have them use it literally for depositing. So when we've got everyone's got their Smilecoin wallets and Grin's got this feature integrated, you can just enter contests and play on their app with Smilecoin. The other thing is we can basically pull on a number of levers that will benefit both these companies and ourselves. So like, I mean, you've seen like, I know Reddit has Reddit Moon, and all these companies are basically rolling out these like native tokens because basically as an incentive for folks to earn rewards and, participate in the ecosystem. So, in the case of like a Grin Gaming or whoever it is, we can say, we can have a partnership with them where we basically say, enter, play 3 games in a row or make your first bet here or do this and earn and get airdropped X number of Smilecoin basically. So it just like helps like, accelerate their ecosystems. It's probably those are the simplest use cases. There's like a myriad of others that I can't think of off top of head, but yeah, those are some of the obvious ones.
Oh, thank you so much, Taj. Any other questions? Otherwise, we would love to hear you talk like more broadly about how, just to continue what Monty was asking you, like the broader project and the design. Like you talked about how the design is important to you and how it is important to bring good design into the blockchain industry. That's so true and so fascinating.
Yeah, no. So I can definitely talk about the project in general, and tell me to shut up if I'm rambling.
I won't. Sorry, I
No, we're
won't.
all ears. We're all
Okay,
ears, man.
cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, so where we're at right now is obviously we made the migration over to ETH, and I was over to Algo from ETH, and I was telling Monty about how how much of a no-brainer it was with just the the high throughput and the low transaction fees. I mean, literally, just creating a smart contract and doing anything, as you all are aware, is just fractions of a penny. And so we went through that migration process, and are in really good standing with the folks at Algorand, both on the grant side. So we're hopeful that we're going to get a max grant from their foundation, but also we're getting pretty close with a lot of their developers, and getting introduced to other projects and dApps within the ecosystem. But what's good now is, now that this migration is sort of out of the way a little bit, and obviously I was telling Monty, there's stuff about getting listed on MEXC or another centralized exchange, and just other like business shit that will happen in the next month, and needs to happen, but it's not very interesting to talk about. But we've started already to make progress on the front end experience, as well as the back end for the DeFi gaming portfolio. So what we're working on now to launch in Q4, and I'm sure you all have seen some like mock-ups of of the user interface, but we're basically designing a dApp that'll be a wallet experience, right? Where you can obviously do things like stake and have your balance, and earn rewards and all that stuff. And we might have a couple fun like Easter egg like mini blockchain games, kind of like you see on Yieldly with their no loss lottery. And we might do a fun rock paper scissors, or some drawings and raffles and all that stuff. But the core of the app will essentially be this portfolio view where you have a distributed ledger of all of your profits and losses. And basically, we're leveraging AI. This isn't so much my background, but one of our co-founders, Nick, he was a machine learning engineer at Apple, and we're going to start to leverage AI to basically allow folks to optimize their gaming returns. And again, like, of course, there's going to be a network effect where we're not going to have a ton of games early on necessarily, but the idea is we can basically give people tips and tools, and recommend different games for them to play, and basically how they can optimize their winnings more or less, and just continue to like stake and earn smile. And then we'll also obviously have some settings and some some profiling stuff, and then just kind of a breakdown view of like the different games, etc. So that'll kind of be like the MVP experience for like the consumer facing dApp. And then in the background, we're going to continue to like onboard new partners, and there's a whole long-term vision around like like I was mentioning, sort of the payment infrastructure on like the B2B side. But we want to just get like folks using this product, like early stage community members, and just get some activity. And like also, like from a software development standpoint, we need to learn and iterate, until we get this thing out in the wild. I mean, we're getting a lot of feedback from you all, and iterating even now on the product and what features and the epics and stories and how we're going to get there. But we really need to launch this thing and see what's resonating with people and see what works. We think it's going to be this portfolio view, but hell, like if some of these blockchain games are wildly successful, we could pivot and focus efforts in a different direction. But we're still a fairly small team. We're going to get this, really confident we're going to get this grant funding, or we'll go out and raise private funds. But, the team of myself, Nick, Rob, and a few others, are just, really passionate about this and developing it, and just want to get this DApp like out into the ecosystem before the end of year, for us all, and get on a centralized exchange. Obviously, the price doesn't matter, but we're hoping we can kind of, this will be good timing for our DApp to launch, where we've got, DEXs coming live on the platform, like TinyMan and AlgoDex. We've got Algorand's doing really well. Maybe the bull market's doing well. The bull market's kind of peaking with Bitcoin. I mean, who cares about that? But we're trying to like work as hard and fast as we can, basically, to just get this MVP experience for the DApp out the door. And obviously, it'll be a really sleek and beautiful user experience. But we're trying to stay focused on just like nailing a few key features, and not overpromised, too big of a vision that we can't execute in the next 2-3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I got a quick question for you. So as you talk to traditional, gaming companies who are currently taking payments or exchanging payments, ACH, PayPal, credit cards, maybe, one of the common complaints or concerns that I hear from that community is they don't understand, crypto in the first place. They don't even understand, that you're not Bitcoin. A lot of these folks, they just understand that there is a thing out there and here's what it is. And to them, Bitcoin is kind of like the Kleenex, the generic version. But they're worried about volatility because that's what they see on CNBC. How do you address that, especially given the fact that, hey, you just switched over and we're probably going to be low liquidity for a little while, and there might be some fluctuations. Well, not might be. There definitely is going to be some fluctuations. So how do you address that and get some traditional businesses on board with that?
Great question.
I think it's a fantastic question. I think there's certainly going to be extremely high volatility given the liquidity, right, in the market, and just how these things work in general for some of these smaller market cap projects. I think, look, we aren't the first people to do this. Like this concept has been proven out. I mean, take Theta TV as an example. They were once Sliver TV, that you could still visit their site, and it was basically an esports streaming, and you could make predictions on stuff, and people would earn their Theta token. It was their native token. And then all of a sudden they completely repositioned their company, and now all they do is cryptography, right? And so I don't know if these traditional companies are not going to, I don't think they're going to want to hold Smilecoin on their balance sheet, right? And I don't think that we would ever recommend that they do that. They would more be using it as a way for their community to get rewarded, basically, for playing those games, and quite frankly, capitalize on what is just such a growing demand by the public to just own some of the cryptocurrencies and altcoins. What was I going to say? But yeah, I mean that's what I would say. There certainly will be volatility. I think these traditional businesses, look, this is, as you can imagine, I mean, this shit is complicated, and we all understand it very well. But this whole Web3 world and everything that that's going on from a blockchain standpoint is like such on the bleeding edge, and there's so many unknowns. Like vast majority of these companies, like they don't even have to be a FanDuel or DraftKings. Any mid-market gaming company, any smaller platform, I mean, they have no idea. They don't know the first thing about creating their own native token and integrating to the blockchain, and they don't have the resources, and quite frankly they don't want to do that. They just want to have an off-the-shelf solution where, hey, I'm part of the Smilecoin network. Let's roll this out. People want to earn. We can earn, people can earn Smile just like you could earn Moon or whatever it is on Reddit, and it's in the data. I mean, the engagement is going to increase, the net profitability and the cash flows of these businesses are going to increase just because this is like sort of how the world is, where the world is headed. I do think it's a really good question. I'm not a finance guy, but perhaps there are implications, right? Maybe there's some important considerations there. Like I said, I don't know if they would hold it on the balance sheet like they would cash or a stable coin. The volatility concerns me less from a business standpoint, because I know that this integration is profitable for these companies. I co-founded Grin Gaming and I own it, and I can tell you that this integration was extremely profitable for us. I'm more concerned about the volatility for the users who are earning the smile and then want to go use it to enter additional contests or do additional things. That's more my concern. And I don't know necessarily the answer to that, short of us being a stable coin or something. But that would be my concern more than the businesses caring about it.
So when you say gaming, I think that's kind of where I'm looking for a little clarification, because it seems to be an umbrella term right now. Do you mean sports betting and gambling, or do you mean CS:GO skins, or do you mean like what is gaming in the Smile Coin definition?
It would be in the realm of daily fantasy sports or prediction platforms or online sports betting. Although we're not really. We're starting to work like Block Sports as a company that we're starting to onboard, but it's daily fantasy sports and prediction platforms basically. So, and those platforms host esports and stuff like that, but it's not related. And this is good feedback, and perhaps we need to be more clear on the messaging. It's not like related to, like you said, like skins or NFT games or metaverse stuff. It's more on the prediction platforms, fantasy sports, if that answers your question.
Gotcha. That's so interesting. So like I could like essentially do like a fantasy thing with like, phase and like, uh another esports team like in a League of Legends or like a CS:GO game or something like that.
Yeah. Have you and I don't mean to sound like I'm pushing this platform because I have equity in it and I started it a while back. But take a look at Grin Gaming and I also, the example, Monty, that I sent you. I keep blanking on the name. And also, what's that? I believe it's called Poly. There's like a prediction platform on ETH that people use. But anyways, yeah. Basically, now what we can do is anything that has a real-time data feed, right, related to sports, and that's any professional esports, so CS:GO, Dota 2, League of Legends, anywhere where there's a team versus team. There are data providers that sell real-time game data, and they use a mix of computer vision, but also just the publishers who are posting the stats. But now, like on all these prediction platforms, like, and same with FanDuel and DraftKings, they're catching up to the technology because they don't have the real-time micro betting, but you can basically make predictions on any live event in real time. The same can be done for social events, like how many times will Elon Musk tweet about Bitcoin in the next 4 hours, or will the bill in the Senate get passed, etc. So anything that has a real-time data feed now can basically be hooked via APIs into any of these daily fantasy sports platforms. So they're getting a lot more advanced.
I see.
Can I float you? Sorry, Bilal, if I can say one more thing. Can I float you a circumstance and just get your feedback on it? So
Yeah,
let's
sure.
say Smilecoin has launched the minimum viable product, and I make a prediction bet using Smilecoin, and I choose to get paid out in Smilecoin. I put down a large amount of money, and the liquidity of Smilecoin is still low. I win the bet and get paid even more money because it was a high odds bet or a low odds bet. Forgot which one it was, but let's say I get a big multiple, right? I get paid out in Smilecoin. Other people who won that bet as well get paid out. I cash out, and now the liquidity of Smilecoin and the price of Smilecoin tanks. How is
No,
that going? How is that going
sorry.
to make other people feel if that is how it works?
No, so I think, and again, this is like to a degree confusing stuff. That there, by definition, like these like daily fantasy sports and these prediction platforms are not like a one-to-one payout, and so we're not going to be launching any of these of those types of payouts and multipliers on Smilecoin. It'll be more for like you get Smilecoin if you like get you guess this one prediction right, and it might be like a free giveaway or no loss lottery. But that stuff will happen on the other platforms, if that makes sense.
I get it. You're not
You're not going to actually be doing it one-to-one with Smilecoin on Smilecoin. It's going to be with the network partners, or it's going to be like a reward where it's like, hey, you go to XYZ new prediction platform, you make your first bet, we're going to give you $100 in rewards. Because does that make sense? Because the model for daily fantasy is more like contest, where you enter one time and it's skill based and there's a long tail payout. It's not like the one-to-one gambling. I'm not sure how these other prediction platforms work if they're paying out people in the native token like that, because I see your point. If there was some major market event that I'm also sorry, I'm thinking about this question myself. So the first answer is that's not going to be how it works, but it's an interesting question. But I will tell you that all of these prediction platforms, including Grin, are all AI optimized. So there's not ever going to be a situation where the house loses like that. Like everything is, the distributions are almost always 50%, if not less, or if not slightly less or more for either side. But I'm rambling again. I don't I don't. It's not how it's going to work, but it's an interesting question. I'll probably want to look into it more.
You're
But I
more
don't
like
think that would
airline
happen.
reward miles or something like that. And then if you have other people in your network, like when I trade in my American Airlines miles for Hilton stays or for car rentals, like Smile might be the you use for all three different platforms, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
That's
different
the thing.
industry, but kind of like that.
Yeah, it would be that single gaming currency within the Algorand ecosystem and these off-chain partners. But yeah, that's a good example of it.
So, what's the monetization model of Smilecoin? How do you make money as a company?
We haven't gotten to that point yet. We haven't. It's not important at this stage because the growth at this point with these blockchain projects, right? Like it's not a venture capital backed project, so we don't have to provide returns or show profitability to investors. It's more about us creating value with the technology and the tokens themselves. We can and would charge a fractional transaction fee for the off blockchain gaming partners or whomever whenever they want to integrate Smilecoin. The other model, I lied. I have thought about this a little bit actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, the other, we're not making any revenue today, but the other model is basically imagine. And the use case that I sent. So, like, let's say you're within the Smilecoin network, and we're basically cross promoting your product. So we're there. A product is saying, "Hey, make your first bet or make your first prediction or deposit X number of currency, and you get 100 Smilecoin in rewards." We could just basically get paid a referral fee from a marketing standpoint. But the probably the biggest revenue generator would be charging the business to business a transaction fee on tokens. But yeah, we're currently not obviously generating revenue, but there's certainly a number of ways, number of monetization strategies. We honestly haven't thought through too many of them.
So, onboarding and bridging from off chain to on chain through the companies that partner with Smilecoin is how you'll at least generate some profit.
Correct. That would be the most obvious way that's coming top of mind. I mean, the other, Sorry, I'm going to take a second about this actually. The other way that we would make money is if, right, so as we're developing blockchain technology, there's going to be stuff that our our developers and myself decide to make open source and just sort of give to the community as like, hey, we went through this process and I just wrote a script that could automate X, Y, and Z on Algorand because no one had ever really done that, right? There's just a bunch of just like a blue ocean, like the people with edge cases and scenarios and all this sorts of stuff that hasn't even been encountered. And so some of that stuff will be open source, but everything that we're building from a technology standpoint can be IP'd and sold directly to other businesses. So there's the actual technology that we're developing, although in the case of a DApp, I think it'd be more about the user activity than anything. There's also, I mean, yeah, there's also subscription models. There's, if the DApp is popular and people are using the network, there's a lot of different ways to monetize it. The off-chain, like traditional gaming companies using Smilecoin would, again, not to belabor the point, would probably be like the most obvious way to get revenue, like right now, if we wanted to start doing that. And we might, and yeah, and you guys will meet Nick, who's one of the other co-founders, and he's more on the business strategy side of things. I'll have to confirm with him because he does all of our partner onboarding. I don't know if he's making decisions to basically onboard partners for free, more or less, for us to just grow just get more traction, or if we're charging like Esports One or Block Sports, who are onboarding like a flat fee, or how we're doing all that stuff. I'll have to ask him, but we might be monetizing it today. I don't think so, and I've never had a conversation about it, quite frankly, with anyone on the team.
Awesome, thank you, Tesh. My question was about the result that you said you need to grab from different platforms. Do you need like an Oracle technology to solve that problem, or how does it work? Like, I know I've heard of this problem on Algorand, like how to manage with or without an Oracle.
Yeah, so exactly, it would be done through an Oracle. I actually just I had used Teal Oracle to describe something, and I had a meeting with Kelly, and she from their marketing side, and she sent me some materials. She corrected me. I guess they're now branding everything as the Algorand Virtual Machine, but they would essentially be oracles, and really all that is just a combination of APIs and SQL verification requests that just basically verifies the outside world data is good, and then okay, we'll send it on chain, kind of thing. So it would be through oracles. I haven't dug into the API documentation too much, so this is a bit over. I might be a bit beyond my skis here, but yeah, it would be an oracle, or what's under this Algorand virtual machine. I think they're still figuring out like the branding of it.
Yeah.
I'll drop something in here. Kelly sent me like an article about it. It was pretty cool. But they're like iterating on the layer one and just making it more like flexible, with like different scripting languages and so on and so forth. So you can basically bridge the outside world, sort of thing. I'll drop a link to it.
Oh, thanks. And we have Chris here. And we have Chris. He knows, like, obviously, quite a bit about this problem. If Chris, you can speak if you're on your phone. Like, could you help us a little bit about the Oracle problem?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Sure. I mean, the Oracle problem is not an Algorand problem. It's just a blockchain problem in general. But really, the main thing that we're waiting for with the AVM 1.0 is the ability for contracts to actually communicate with other contracts. Right now, you'd have to grab information from a contract, simulate it locally, pass that information to a new contract, and it's just it's not the easiest thing in the world, but AVM 1.0, when that comes out, contracts will be able to communicate with other contracts.
Because I've heard about some Chainlink integration coming soon. I don't know exactly when or what it is exactly, but you probably also know much more about it than myself.
Whoa. Bilal, you heard Chainlink is coming to Algo? Can you, what?
Yeah, so really what it boils down to is there's really like any type of Oracle system isn't going to be able to come until the AVM 1.0 is out. And I believe that's set to be, a second, my daughter's asking me. Just a second, sweetheart. But it's AVM 1.0 isn't set to come out until, I believe, end of September is the last time I heard. But I mean, obviously, I don't know if that's still.
I've heard that too, yeah.
So Taj, if I can ask you, if you could elaborate on the AI integration into Smilecoin, how will AI help compound people's earnings on the platform? What's the integration with AI?
So we will have machine learning that basically optimizes folks' profits by recommending they play or enter certain contests or games, and or I'll have to confirm this with Nick. He's our machine learning lead. But it wouldn't necessarily be to compound profits. It would just be like a AI powered portfolio essentially, with an algorithm that spits out a form of recommendation, or perhaps there's automation as far as the profitability is with the different games you play. But I'm gonna follow up with. I'm gonna write this down and ask Nick about this, because this is a little over my skis as well.
We also have Kwame here. Kwame, like you worked on gaming on Algorand with using Reach too. Can you share a little bit about your experience about gaming on Algorand?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I mean, gaming on Algorand is it's a great blockchain. As everyone, I mean, if you're new to the ecosystem, it's really fast. Transaction fees are really low. And I mean, with my experience with Algorand, it's been using the Reach DApp programming language, and it's been awesome. I've been able to, of course, with Reach, you can have the, co-chain world where you can, develop for both Algorand and like every flavor of Ethereum. The main thing that I wanted to kind of bring up with the gaming is having like a universal representation for NFTs, because NFTs kind of are cross chain, and having like a standard. I was just wondering what people's thoughts on having like a cross chain standard for NFTs.
Hey, Kwame. One thing you should kind of not answering your question exactly, but something I'm not sure if you know or not. But Hamza within the community just finished his Unity integration to Reach. So like there's a lot of cool things happening with C#, and actually communicating directly with Reach through C#. So hopefully a lot more game stuff is coming. But cross chain NFTs is it's a difficult thing to talk to until you actually get specific on what type of NFT that you're actually talking about. Now, I say this is because NFT is such like a broad definition of of ownership that it's hard to actually talk about it specifically, because it could mean so many different things. But if we mean just the collectible side of things, as far as an image or an asset, and you can pass ownership from one to another, that should be something that's pretty actually straightforward to do cross-chain, as long as you have a way to keep those different chains in sync. This can be done through a layer 2 sync chain, or through bridges or anything of that sort as well. But I mean, it's one of the things that I see coming soon is just that ability.
One of the most powerful use cases. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Okay, thought I disconnected. I think we've spoken about it sometimes on this show before, but I think integrating the tradability of NFTs into things like in-game items or skins could probably be one of the most powerful applications of blockchain into gaming. Like, let's say you play World of Warcraft and you find a rare item, or you play Destiny, you get a rare gun, or you play Counter-Strike and you have a rare skin. True rarity through representation as an NFT and an integration of a marketplace into those games would be a really, really, I'm sure, popular and lucrative opportunity for the first person to actually get that going. They have some things like that on Ethereum, but we have nothing like that on Algorand yet.
So one thing that I'm going to ask the open question is, do these large centralized companies that already have the market, are they incentivized to actually implement something like this? Or is it going to require a new player to disrupt the market to create something new?
I think it's definitely going to require a new player unless the blockchain option is more cost effective. But I do think it'll take a whole new game or new interactive world to really just bridge that gap and kind of break the barrier. Currently, I think companies like Riot Games, who run League of Legends, like, they have no reason to change their monetization model because the skins aren't rare. They can just sell as many as they want to as many people as they want. And it would take a different type of mentality from the development standpoint of the game to be like, yes, we are going to have intentionally rare items that we want to become more coveted over time. That's just my 2 cents.
I was gonna say I agree that there would likely be from some disruptive player, both just like culturally and philosophically, how those companies develop products and what those processes are. The other thing I just thought of is also, I think until all of the app stores, will need. I think it'll need to be a day where the app stores are fully compatible with something like Ethereum or Algorand, right? I know Apple's talking about accepting Bitcoin at some point, but I think we're probably a couple years down the line for it to even be viable for them to start working on something like that. And then I feel like it's just going to take them a while, if they did.
Why do you think that that's a barrier for app stores to accept native currency for NFTs to be able to be more prevalent in the industry?
Well, I'm just thinking, and this again, this isn't my area of expertise with regards to like NFT games, but like, right, like, let's say hypothetically it was a game like a Fortnite or something that wanted to say we're going to NFT our skins, and I don't know if they're already doing something like this, but I guess people could purchase those with USD. It just seems like it's a little, or with some other currency. I don't know, and I'm just spitballing a little bit.
So one of the things that I'm actually doing, working with a company currently that I recommend to them, and they're actually currently going through legal for it, is to sell the items within their own mobile app through the actual Apple and Android store, and in that process, they give a free NFT representation of that as well. And what this allows for is this: the idea of doing this is that it creates a very clean onboarding process because the NFT is free, because it's a bonus. But what they're buying is the actual unlocking of what that buying the NFT does. And I think that this, I'm excited for this one to actually launch, which hopefully, knock on wood, is just a few months away. But I think what this will do is it'll create a lot of Algorand users that don't really know it, because they're receiving the NFT, they're receiving the Algorand wallet, they're receiving the NFT on the Algorand wallet, plus they're still getting the access within the mobile app of what they desire for the NFT.
Oh wow. So it's all happening kind of in the background on chain, but from a customer experience standpoint, they're transacting via in-app purchase, right? And getting a bonus. Huh. Yeah. I'd be curious on the legal opinion there, but that sounds pretty promising, because it's not like a one-to-one fungible sort of transfer.
I think if in-game collectibles are integrated into blockchain and NFT marketplaces, the way I imagine it to be done elegantly is that the game itself is not running on the blockchain. The game simply has a connection to an NFT marketplace that can seamlessly transact through the app or through the game, and then the ownership of the item or the skin or whatever it may be is represented as an NFT. I think Chris was saying it a few weeks ago, and I loved this point that he made. It's that just because something is on blockchain doesn't mean it's special necessarily. The real point is, how is the blockchain making it more powerful and more efficient? Not that just the fact that like something is on blockchain. So I think League of Legends doesn't need to go onto blockchain, but you can have the skins on blockchain, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing I tell everybody, that if somebody comes and pitches me a product idea and they say it's X on the blockchain, it's a huge red flag for me, because blockchain is the technology that makes the world better. It's not a reason to do anything. This is also why I'm excited for what I just got into explaining, is that because what's happening is that to the end user, they have no idea, as far as actually user experience, that anything is different. The only thing that is different is now that they have a self-sovereign entity that they can own and do what they wish with, and other than that, it feels exactly the same as it always worked.
What is and maybe this is a little further ahead, but what does the custodial process look like?
It's a completely
for the NFT, if they don't have any, if it's the same user experience, is it the gaming company that's essentially holding it, or
no? It's still non-custodial. What how it works is that the Algorand wallet itself is actually integrated into the app. That everybody is actually given an Algorand wallet upon a. I'm getting a lot of feedback, Taj.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem. Everybody that actually purchases this item automatically is given an Algorand wallet, and the item is then transferred to that Algorand wallet. So it is actually a non-custodial situation. And what happens is that the public key is associated to the mobile application ID, and then to be able to, because these are actually smart NFTs. These aren't dumb NFTs, so they actually provide value. So what it does is that the application checks to make sure that the wallet ID that is associated to the account ID actually has the NFT that they purchased still. So before they have access to be able to do the thing with that NFT. It was a long explanation, but the gist of it is it's completely seamless to the end user, and it's non-custodial, and they become crypto natives at that point.
Yeah, I think that it should be something that happens in the background. Algorand's probably most promising use case is not in the forefront. I think what it should be used for over the coming years is just to become a background layer to dApps like that, or to just bring centralized apps and integrate a decentralized aspect into them. I think again, I'm not like the techiest technical person here, so maybe this correct me if I'm wrong for what I'm about to say, but replying to Taj, I think the ownership of the NFT will be held on chain, so it's not like the gaming company will be custodial in that sense. Like Chris was saying, it's just everyone will have an automatic algo wallet.
That's gonna make adoption a little bit more seamless. I like the idea of that. That it just kind of makes it, crypto easy for even the newest person. Sorry, I sneezed. But yeah, that's interesting. They were able to, implement something like that.
How's everybody liking my Better on Blockchain series? Is there any tweaks that anybody like me to change? That people that I assume that you guys have all watched it, of course.
I loved it. Like, I really loved it. I watched it 2 times actually, like about the social app. Like, it's perfect and it's not too long, and you go to relatively good details, and also you bring the philosophical aspect of it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's not
Yeah.
like the audience. The audience doesn't mean anything about the quality. Like, the quality is amazing.
So we just recorded our 3rd episode. So there's 2 episodes out so far. So everybody listening, what I myself and my co-founder has done is we created a new podcast YouTube series it's called Better on Blockchain, where we go and we talk about different industries and how we would make those industries better with blockchain. We recorded the 3rd one last night. I decided to actually challenge ourselves by going in completely blind. So it's a completely open conversation that there was zero planning ahead of time, and we wanted to pick something that feels like blockchain wouldn't make any better at all. So the third topic is Office Suite, and how the Office Suite could be made better with blockchain. That was a pretty fun one to do.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I will watch it straight away. I have some questions to you, Chris, about this interesting point about social apps that you talked about in your episode, the 2nd episode, about the CBIL risk, CBIL attacks on social and how to deal with it. That is so interesting. And can you elaborate a bit more about it?
Yeah, I mean, Sybil attacks is just not for social media. It's a problem with most blockchain economic systems. Is that if you incentivize by if you incentivize people, like say, I will give you a coin if you submit X, or if you write a post, or if you upvote, or what have you. The main question is like, okay, well, pretty much everything that is easy like that has no cost associated with doing the thing that you're being incentivized for, has the process of people creating automation, like automated bots to either create new accounts or automate those accounts, or really kind of game the system outside the economic, outside of the actual economic system. So that's why whenever you're building a system like that, you need to make sure that the system actually has game theory balance, equilibrium. Because if you're able to, if you just use your coin as incentives, it's really easy to game that system, be able to completely blow up the entire balance of the entire market.
Yeah, totally. We have Jamie here. Jamie, do you have because it's I think you're obviously building this social app, and you are dealing with this problem. If you want to engage a conversation with Chris about it, that would be so interesting.
Yeah, I think Chris actually mentioned a few things within the chat with the social media aspect, especially like you guys were talking about these skins, how it works on the back end, and then in the front end you have the bad Twitter or something like that. So the app I'm building is more towards like licensing and royalty rights on content, especially more video content. Uh, actually Bila and I, we've been kind of like talking to each other, kind of discussing like how we can bring the entire Algo family together and how to, you know, kind of make better and see how we can contribute onto the blockchain. And, you know, as a whole together, just kind of help each other out, especially like within the charity needs and just helping each other.
Chris, you had some new hires for Reach, didn't you? I was watching your update.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, who'd you bring on the team, and what do you think what new dimensions are they gonna offer Reach?
I mean, we brought on so many people, man. We've actually, since I recorded our monthly update, I think we hired 4 more people that we haven't announced yet.
Wow.
So we've like many of the hires have actually been around. Actually, we've hired all the way across the board. So we've hired core engineers that are focusing on different aspects of the product. Like we hired a actual crypto smart contract expert that his pure focus is to make sure that Reach outputs the most optimized contracts possible. So that's going to be his main focus. We hired a DevOps and release engineer to clean up our release schedule to make sure that that goes smoother. And plus, also they do things like set a default network. So when you start building, you can actually decide what network is your default one, so you don't need to actually change the configuration every time. We hired a guy that specializes in visualizing the debug process. So what's going to happen is that he's implementing a way to be able to simulate the entire DApp system outside of the blockchain and visualize the experience. And what this will allow for is that the debug experience will be the best in all of blockchain, because you'll be able to step through every single aspect of the application back and forth, pure simulation. I'm really excited about that.
Wow.
That's really cool. We just hired the director of engineering for our specialty product, and we hired 3 new engineers for the specialty product. So that to start kicking out our decks, and then shortly after that, a new wallet, and then a most likely either a stable coin and or a lending platform. So that's underway. We're still trying to find a head of community and a head of learning. I find that actually pretty difficult, but we're still going through the interview process of finding those people. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I forgot somebody, but yeah, we're hiring all across the board. We hired, and we did hire 2 more, like a Haskell specialist to actually join the compiler team as well, that I forgot about. But yeah.
So if I can ask you, what is something you think that could be built on Reach, which can't be done in the current Teal 3 environment?
So it's a great question, and I'm going to try to be as delicate as possible, which I'm not good at, so I apologize.
Okay.
So really what it is that what is so Reach was not created to be able to create new things. Reach was actually created to make it so that everything could be created in a faster, safer way. This is very similar to, like, give you an analogy of the real world, is that if I asked you to build a browser for the internet, you could do it with using, C or Java or anything of that sort, right? But if I said the requirement is that you have to use assembly, you have to use actually computer bytecode. It's still theoretically possible, and you still can do it. It just takes forever to do, and there's prone to making many mistakes. And that's really what the difference between what Reach and what pretty much any of the base languages are, is that that you can do anything with the base language. I mean, it's proven because Reach compiles down to the base language. But what Reach does is it makes it so anybody has the ability to build most things, and it's much, much safer to do so.
So are you handling some of the more complex aspects of the smart contracts, and then, like you say, compiling them into a more palatable and usable, I guess, I don't know what the word would be, format for someone to then...
Let me give you a real world example, because it makes clear things up a little bit.
Sure.
So we are releasing our own decks. I haven't been quiet about that. I haven't been public about it, but I personally haven't been quiet about it. We still need to brand it and launch it. But and I should be actually demoing it, hopefully, knock on wood, this week, to actually show everybody what it looks like, the back end, so we don't have a web interface for it, but all of the blockchain pieces are done. The person that actually developed our decks, he spent about 4 weeks of time building it. Before he started with Reach, he never built anything on blockchain before. And we're about to launch it. And so this one code base is able to be launched on Algorand and Ethereum and Conflux with the same code base. And then plus on top of all of that, the code itself is actually mathematically guaranteed to be correct. So, TinyMan just released on the testnet, and it's amazing what they did. But it was a whole team of effort, built in Teal, and now they're going through audits and everything of that sort. But with the Reach decks, there was one person that built it, and before he actually built it, never had any blockchain experience.
So Reach made it easier for him to just jump in, and it did that by taking Teal contracts and compiling them into more broad statements.
No. So it's the other way around.
Sure.
So what it is, like, we're providing a higher level language that is syntactically similar to JavaScript. So when you write your application in Reach, and it's much more easier to read, much more easier to understand. And when you hit compile, it takes your instruction, that code, and it outputs all of the smart contracts and all of the client-side code to communicate with those smart contracts, and guarantees that it's built correctly, the best way it possibly can, of course. So that's how it works.
And that's the future. Like, I mean, we cannot do things manually forever. We need to go to